Hello and welcome. Today I'm in the tier 6 Japanese aircraft carrier, the Ryujo, and I'm using these upgrades and commander skills. I'm in a ranked battle, and obviously the enemy team also has a carrier. There are 2 destroyers per team, 2 cruisers and 2 battleships, pretty much as balanced as it gets. So I launched my torpedo bombers first. Also I'm obviously playing air superiority. Torpedo bombers launch first, then fighters, and then dive bombers. I fly my torpedo bombers towards the enemy team, because at this stage of the game, at least at these ranks that this game was at, I sometimes was able to drop on a destroyer before the enemy carriers fighters intervened. However, this time I spot the Cleveland, and unfortunately I don't want to go very close to one, because Clevelands have very terrifying anti-air. Now the enemy is also a Ryujo, however since this match happened a while ago, I know that he is strike. Well, I don't know it at this stage in the game, which is why I'm trying to be rather conservative. But it's weird that the enemy carrier fighters aren't there, and that I can only see one fighter squadron, which likely indicates that he is strike. However, I don't recommend strike carriers, but I still can't be sure. Maybe he's just hiding his fighters. So, as an air superiority carrier, what you want to do is you want to spot, and well, that's kind of the main thing you want to do. You want to spot and just basically lock down enemy planes. That is, you want to prevent enemy planes from dropping, which is actually a lot more difficult than, it sounds. Which is why in random battles many air superiority carriers fail. So basically what you want to do is you want to spot destroyers, you want to spot torpedoes, and you want to spot ships so that your allies have something to shoot at. We saw a Fubuki here, so I bring my only strike planes over, and I will still try to drop. However, the success rate generally is rather low. However, I think it's still worth a try. Now, I don't bother with the dive bombers because they're really difficult to drop. However, the torpedo bombers, they can actually deal devastating damage. Like right now, and that Fubuki just lost to 1 torpedo bomber drop. Honestly, when something like this happens, usually the destroyer has messed up. Now I saw the strike planes earlier up here, so this is why I'm moving my fighters over here. Basically I just want to make sure that the enemy carrier doesn't get any free drops in, because, at this point I'm already sure that he is strike. So I can pretty much try to bully him, that is, try to chase his fighters with mine, so that he keeps running to get space to maneuver. And those are the strike planes I saw flying by earlier. He's probably trying to, have a chance of sniping me, because obviously it's really difficult to fight an air superiority carrier as a strike carrier. Especially at tier 6, when you don't have that many replacements, you can't just throw your planes away for drops. Now I did a click fight. Click fight basically means that the 2 fighters just lock one another, and that's kinda it. Now click fights can go both ways rather easily. However, nothing is guaranteed. Sometimes I have lost click fights where the enemy loses 1 plane, I lose 5, but the opposite has happened as well. So there are his torpedo bombers. Basically all I need to do is buy time. He's trying to dodge, but my anti-air will also work in this time, and I can just click with my fighters. It's safer than strafing, because if I mess up while strafing, then my planes are locked in for quite a while, and the enemy torpedo bombers can, or the enemy carrier can, use that chance to try to take the attack, right? While I'm busy. However, if you just lock and you have enough combined anti-air, that should just be fine. And if you combine it with dodging as well, it's completely okay. And honestly, if you're a strike carrier, you will probably be rather annoyed, especially if you haven't played carrier in ranked before. Because if you're a carrier in ranked, what usually happens between good players is that they both basically don't do much. They try to inch towards the enemy, but neither side wants to attack or, you know, risk things. Because whoever gets to fight on their terms, that is on their side of the map in maybe a little bit of friendly anti-air, tends to win the fighter engagement. And because at this tier you can't actually replace your fighters fully even once, that is if you lose all of your fighter planes, you can't get all 15 up in the air, you only have 14 left, then you're gonna be behind. So neither side wants to take a losing fight. Both sides want to have a winning fight, so there's a lot of passive play in, you know, when people do this. And that's why if you play air superiority versus air superiority, people just sit back. But if you haven't played carriers in ranked, you might not be used to that. And I think even strike carrier players need to just sit back. Basically what you want as a carrier player is for something like what is happening like with my destroyers, this Geda and Fubuki here, because they're pushing out from the team, so the team isn't blobbed up, which means that the team's anti-air does not cover these destroyers. So I have to explicitly come out here with my own planes to try to defend. And you know, if the team splits up even more, you know, than into 2 groups, like let's say 4 groups, maybe one destroyer goes off on their own adventure, then the carrier can't really cover them, and that's kind of what you want. You want to look for these kinds of opportunities to be able to strike. You know, like that Fubuki at the start of the game, right? Because that one just meant that the enemy carrier, even if he was air superiority, probably would not have been able to defend that Fubuki. Which means that, well, that Fubuki basically was a lost cause. And it was purely because of the Fubuki's play, not because of the carrier being strike, or even if the carrier had been air superiority, he would not have been able to save that Fubuki. Okay, so basically I can't drop onto this blob here, this Wusa Warspite Lander. I mean, I could try, but it's probably not gonna work well. Oh, I do spot the Shinonome. I could drop on the Shinonome because she is away from the group, so it could be possible. Now, obviously, there's the Cleveland here as well, so that means any fights near the Cleveland are in my favor. It's really good that the enemy Cleveland was taken out quickly. I just tried to drop randomly into the smokescreen with my torpedo bombers because, well, I mean, maybe I'll hit the destroyer and that will be very good. Oh, his planes are coming. Okay, I will definitely lock because they're in the anti-air of the Cleveland. Also, it seems the Geda is trying to chase the carrier. And I get some nice strafes over here. There's one weird thing though. Why would he fly like this? You know what this reminds me? There used to be this bug where when an enemy carrier died, the planes would fly directly towards your carrier. And looking at the minimap, the enemy carrier is dead. And you might be wondering, how did that happen? Well, if we rewind for a bit, yeah, check this out. So basically the carrier got so frustrated with fighting air superiority that he killed himself. I mean, I can't really blame him in terms of frustration. Like, it's okay to fight an air superiority carrier as a strike carrier. It's really annoying, but it's okay. But if on top of that, your Fubuki commits suicide right at the start of the game, and your Cleveland gets randomly taken out early on in the game, then honestly, you don't really have much hope for winning. Yes, there's always hope for winning, etc. Also, the Geda apparently has not realized that the carrier has died yet, almost 2 minutes later. But yeah, basically I can understand his frustration, and I don't think it would have had any effect on the game. However, of course, you should always try to fight until the end in ranked battles, because, you know, maybe a miracle will happen. I don't know, maybe your Shinonome will detonate like 3 ships in a row. Also, I think the Geda just realized that the carrier was actually dead, so he kinda stopped his chasing. But yeah, this game is honestly over. So you see my fighter, I'm in the anti-air, but I fly back and forth because I wanted to spot all of the Shinonome's torpedoes. So I have spotted them for my ships. Now it doesn't matter if my planes stay in the anti-air again. because, you know, the torps are spotted, so my team knows how to react to this. And this game is, yeah, over. I'm actually glad I got my clear skies from this, though. Because if a carrier commits suicide, it's not actually that easy to get a clear sky, since, you know, they don't launch all their planes. But, yeah, now it's just time to try to wrap up, I suppose. So, the biggest mistakes for the enemy team was the Fubuki going alone. Don't do that. It's okay to do these kinds of things if there are no carriers in a match. But if there are carriers in a match, don't go alone. Don't go solo YOLO. It generally doesn't work out if the carriers know what they're doing. Just leave the spotting, etc., to, you know, your carrier, and just try to basically play safe. Because one of the worst things you can do is die in ranked, because that means your team will be behind in points. Wow, that was an incredible dive bomber drop. 6,000 damage and 2 fires. Wow. So another mistake was the fact that the Cleveland died early. I think if the Fubuki had been with the team, you know, she could have smoked the Cleveland, and maybe the Cleveland wouldn't have died. And in that case, this game would have been completely different, despite the fact that it was an air superiority carrier versus a strike carrier. But oh well, it is what it is. But I think those are the two biggest mistakes in this game. I think the other stuff didn't matter nearly as much. So I got a devastating strike, clear skies, first blood, 41,000 damage, 5 torpedo hits, 32 plane shot down, 2 ships destroyed. But yeah, the enemy carrier, I can feel his frustration with this, especially with the way his team was playing. Still, I don't recommend, you know, suiciding like this. It just removes any chance you have of winning, so, you know, it's better not to do that. Also notice that the 2 top ships on the enemy team actually have the same XP, so neither of them lost a star. Oh yeah, another reason why not to, you know, suicide like that, you don't have a chance of being number 1 in your team, so you don't have a chance of not losing your star. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon. We have a bunch of new patrons, so thank you very much for supporting the channel. For Cruiser Pensacola, Noshiro, Pertato, and Robert. And I hope I'll see you guys next time.